What's up everybody, welcome back. In today's video I want to talk about the importance of structure within an arrangement, particularly when you have a simple piece like what you're hearing in the background right now. Just to be clear, I'm not talking about the form of this composition itself, which is basically an ABA, but structuring the actual arrangement in the sense of assigning parts to the correct instruments, choosing registers, voicings, counterlines, basically anything closely related to arranging. And just to drive the points home even further, we'll just be using strings today, but any concept I'll be talking about can be applicable to any ensemble of your choosing, of course. So this is probably the very first thing you want to do, and it's super important because a lot of the decisions you make later on will probably be informed by this. If you don't have an internalized sense of how the music should flow, you can physically draw the shape of your piece just to give yourself an idea of what you want, or at least establish the climax of the piece and build the rest of the arrangement around it. Needless to say, if you're writing music to picture, this process will probably be much easier because at least, the dramatic arc of the piece will be decided by the picture itself. But I think any piece of music, regardless of the media it's meant to serve, should be able to tell a story on its own. But what does it mean to tell a story with music? It can be quite literally writing a story, an actual story, and having the music trying to express whatever it is that you want to communicate. The way I tend to see it personally is more as a journey, getting from point A to point B without any bumps along the road is not necessarily what makes life interesting. And just like that, I think an arrangement should be full of contrast. There's no high without low, no loud without soft, no pretty without ugly, and just like that, I think an arrangement should be full of opposites. Some of the simplest things you can try is using opposite dynamics and registers, like you hear me doing here in the climax of the piece that I'm saving for the very end. Another example is how this B section plays with the idea of dissonance versus consonance. Something else entirely could be using two voices moving in contrary motion to each other. Or using call and answer. Without opposites, any idea that you try to communicate still works, it's still understandable, but it loses its meaning ever so slightly. And being music, a more subtle art form, anything that can help delivering the message in a more obvious way is a win to me. Going back to our journey analogy, having too many unexpected events can make your experience pretty miserable. And this is not what we want, for sure. Similarly, I think that a good arrangement should also be balanced. A good way to find balance is trying to listen to your own music from the audience perspective. The untrained knows music in a different way than we do as composers. There is a collective knowledge by nature of music being such an important part of our cultures. And this makes it so that everybody has expectations of what the music should be doing or where it should be going. You challenge it too much or too little and you'll probably lose your listener. Just like I probably lost half of you right now. So here's a few examples. The climax of the piece doesn't only contrast the rest of it like we discussed before, but it's exactly what you would expect for that given moment. It's where I give up the higher dynamics, more extreme registers, wider harmonies, and voicings. Similarly, I try not to give up the double basses too easily, just to give myself a little more headroom. What you see here is mostly a combination of pits and saving the arco to create drama. The beginning of the piece is a little more vague, with the melody getting passed around different instruments, but right after that I try to make it simple to understand by using more meaty registers and clearer voicings. On the B section we start with the melody on violas, and as it repeats, it goes to the first violin at a higher octave, just like you would expect. So this is all to say the structure should be a combination of all these things and more, if you like. It should be a good balance of predictable, unpredictable, and contrasting elements like we discussed. A well-structured piece of music should be able to tell a story or bring you on a journey. And just like anything else in life, it can be a little bit challenging at times, if you like, but not so much so that it's going to make the whole experience frustrating. Before we play the music, I want to take a quick moment to thank my patrons, without whom this content wouldn't be possible at all. In fact, if you feel like supporting the channel or want to have access to extra downloadable contents, such as the MIDI and the Logic session you saw throughout the video, feel very free to check that out. Additionally, if you want to learn more about composition in the style of classic cinema, you can check out my course on 20th century orchestral writing, links below. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hit the like button if you did, and subscribe if you're new. It's very important. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.